Hi everyone, I'm Rosemary Howsam, and I'm here with a story time today because I keep getting comments in my DMs about why am I such why am I on such a crusade against Big Pharma. So I'll give you a story to illustrate my point. So a few years ago now, I went on a trip, and it was actually interesting because it was an investment trip, but whatever. I went on a trip to Mexico, stayed at a five-star resort, learning from gurus about how best to invest and all of that stuff. And in the middle of it, okay, I kid you not, in the middle of it, we got a hurricane warning. So we're all down there. We just arrived like 2 days earlier. It's a week long, it's a week long trip, and we're getting warnings of hurricane coming your way. Now, if you want to do the history, then this was Hurricane Wilma, early 2000s. Anyway, so here we are. We get the message, there's a hurricane warning, and you guys need to be out of here because we need to evacuate the hotel. Now, there were two classes of people. The first class of people were the ones who said, excuse me, did you say a hurricane is coming? Okay, we're out. And they found the first flights out of Mexico. Then the second class of people said, well, we came with this group and the group seems really responsible, so let's see what the emergency procedures would be, because most of us were there on our last dime, so we couldn't exactly pick up and get out with another on another flight. So we went to the leader, and the leader of the group said, look, okay, we're going to charter a flight, but we've got to bus everybody inland and then fly out from there, hopefully. So we said, okay, no problem, no problem. It's sunny. It didn't look like anything was going out, but on all of the big screen news, all of the big screen TVs in the lobby and everywhere you went in the hotel, it had this giant swell that was in the Gulf of Mexico, getting ever closer to hitting land. So we all went to go and pack. Now, because I was totally bootstrapping it to go to this conference in the first place. So I had a roommate, and my roommate said that she wasn't going to go because she basically said she's going to wait out the week and then fly out with her ticket on a plane. Said she'd already paid for that and couldn't afford for it. So I said, all right, cool, do your thing. We hot-tailed it out of there. Okay, I'm trying to keep it clean. So we got out of there, we were on a bus, and we were just flying through all of the roads, and then as we were going, the roads were becoming more and more blocked because everybody is fleeing. Now, my roommate, who decided to stay behind with a bunch of other people, like hundreds of people stayed behind because it wasn't really met with much seriousness, and so she stayed behind. The story that she gave us, so let me go back to what we were doing. So we went through all of the police checks. It was very interesting because we kept getting stopped and kept being warned that the hurricane is coming. And by this time, the entire sky was this weird, muddy, red, orange, angry yellow that I'd never seen. It did not look like a sunset. It looked scary. And there was this eerie kind of silence. And when we went, we finally made it to the airport. We got to the airport. We're in the airport, no flights out. No flights. So we're like, okay, what do we do? So we were told we have to camp out in the airport. So there we are. All of these people that were at this ritzy hotel are now camped out on the floor of the airport, on the hard concrete floor of the airport, hoping and praying that we could get on a flight out of Mexico. Didn't happen. Not right away. And you know what happened? Okay, so that was one thing. That was an adventure. You know, some people got featured on TV and the news and saying, we're Canadians, we need to get out of this country. And so then, of course, Canada felt guilty, which really works well with, you know, socialism and all of that stuff. So Canada was like, okay, we better send a plane for those people. We don't want anybody, you know, saying that we don't care about our people. So anyway, so they were going to send a flight, but they couldn't send it right away. And you know what was interesting? So we had to spend at least a night or two on the floor of this airport. And in all of the confusion and the hurry and the rush, several people had forgotten their medications, their chronic illness medications, back at the hotel, because we literally had to run, grab all of our stuff and get our butts on the bus or we'd be left behind. And the people that forgot their medications, they were now starting to panic. And the reason they were panicking is because it was coming around to the time of their next dose and they didn't have their meds. Meds for high blood pressure, meds for type 2 diabetes, meds for high cholesterol. They didn't have them. And then the word went around, oh, does anybody have any high blood pressure medication? Does anybody have any type 2 diabetes medication that they could share until we get to Canada? I had never seen anything like this before in my life, okay? Because, you grow up and and then you live in a country that's, civilized and everybody's all polite, and we're told they're even more polite than the British. So, but that's a whole other story. And here people were now being reduced to the most primal state of humanity, and that is survival. I need my meds, or I may not survive the stress of this, because it was very stressful. We didn't get much sleep. It was all about urgency and emergency, and people were panicked. And when I saw that the people who did not get their medication and had to wait, and then having to be administered to by first aid givers, it was really shocking to see that somebody who was talking and happy and laughing a few hours before that were now sullen or worried or were in dire physical condition because they needed their medication. And that taught me a lesson, and that is, you know what? We think everything is fine when everything is great. When there's nothing going on and we have easy access to our medications, if we're taking them for high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes or high cholesterol, we think everything is okay. But come a time when you can't access those medications, what do you do then? And if there's nobody else to share with that may have the right type of medication, that's at the right dosage that you can take, what do you do then? And that showed me a very valuable lesson, because it made me realize even more how much Big Pharma doesn't care about your health. They just care about you staying sick, because people were carrying on like an illicit drug addict because they needed their medication. And it made me realize, even all of those years ago, that you need to take care of yourself and find a way naturally so that you're not dependent on Big Pharma. And that kind of started to fuel my reason d'etre, my reason of being, of teaching people about how to get off Big Pharma and kick Big Pharma to the curb. I didn't realize that it would have come and then developed into this, what I'm doing today. But after that experience in Mexico, all of those years ago, and seeing how people were desperate for medication and were desperately afraid because of their health that wasn't in good condition without their medication. After that, then my mother had her health crisis with high blood pressure, and she struggled with high blood pressure for most of her adult life and ended up having a catastrophic stroke as one of the side effects of high blood pressure. And that was with following all of her doctor's orders and taking her medication at the right time. Then I got diagnosed with high blood pressure years later after my mother died. And I said, no way, I am not going to go down the same road as the people from my experience in Mexico with not being able, trying to outrun a hurricane and not having the right medication or any medication. I'm not going to go down the road of having the experience of my mother, who died in spite of following her doctor's orders and taking the medications, Big Pharma medications, on time, all the time. And I said, no, that's not going to be me. And I took 3 years out of my life to figure out what it was I needed to do to control my high blood pressure. And it was at that point during that time that I decided to become a certified holistic nutritionist, because I realized there is a lot more power of what you put at the end of your fork than almost anything else that you do. 80%, as a matter of fact, of your health is determined by what you put at the end of your fork and put in your mouth to eat for food. And that is what I'm trying to tell people. Big Pharma doesn't care about you. They just want you to be sick. They want you to always need them. And you then are the legal drug trafficker recipient, and you're a legal drug user. A legal drug user. What difference is it if you're hooked on meth or if you're hooked on whatever the chronic illness medication is that you absolutely need because you can't control your condition any other way? Think about it. That's what I do, but there is another way, and it can work for you. It worked for me, and it's worked for others that I've helped, and it can work for you too. So click the link below if you want to know how to kick Big Pharma to the curb. I'm Rosemary Havsam, and that's my storytime rant for the day. See you later. Have a great day. Bye.